No doubt by now you've heard the term mindfulness in one context or another. It's the newest buzz term being thrown about by everyone from hippies to economists and everyone in between. Now, this is fantastic, don't get me wrong, but when you have such a diverse collection of people all talking about the same thing, some things can get lost in translation. To combat this, a group of mindfulness researchers came up with an operational definition to clear the air a little bit, and it's pretty spot on. Mindfulness is the self-regulation of attention with an attitude of curiosity, openness, and acceptance. So what does this mean exactly? The self-regulation of attention means to be in conscious control of what you think, feel, and do. It means you control your thoughts and emotions rather than them controlling you. This is at the very heart of what this program is about. As we know that all stress and emotion comes from our thoughts, so if we're in control of our thoughts, we're in control of everything about ourselves. Curiosity refers to our desire to gather more information from the world around us, as well as ourselves. If we're actually curious about what different thoughts and feelings are and what causes them, rather than running from them, we can begin to control them. Openness is our ability to be honest with ourselves and not close off to new things, which can be one of the scariest things for us to do. Acceptance is the tricky part. It means taking on board and accepting the things we find through being curious and open. It's not always easy, but it's the only way forward. This sort of stuff may sound a little bit left of field at the moment, but it's where the bulk of behavioral science is heading. The medical community are realizing more and more what you may already know, that our thoughts are at the base of absolutely everything. So this week we'll delve into how we can practice mindfulness. As the more mindful we become, the more in control we will be. I'm not sure about you, but growing up, I think I heard the command pay attention more than any other, and usually spoken or yelled very loudly. This was usually my cue to stop mucking around, sit up straight, and pretend I was listening until I was no longer the subject of scrutiny. This continued on later into my adult life than I care to mention, although it did change to a more polite, "Excuse me, are you paying attention?" This is a far more poignant question than I ever realized at the time. So in any definition of mindfulness, you'll always find the word attention, and that's no accident. So often we just coast through our day, our week, our year, our lives, just letting things happen to us. We're like boats in a fast-moving stream, drifting in the night, and it's only when we bump into things that we react. To be mindful, to truly pay attention to the things around us, is like realizing we have a light to see where we're going and an engine to get us there. The rest of today, try thinking about your attention. How many things do you actually focus on? How many aspects of your day can you recall with absolute and perfect clarity? Can you recall much of the commute to work, or can you only recall the things that annoyed you? Have a think about this, and next we're going to start looking at some techniques to help us pay more attention. Today, we're going to look at a very simple way to focus our attention, our breathing. We all know how to breathe. We've been doing it for years, but we're very rarely aware of it. Our breathing, just like that commute to work, is something we only focus on when something goes wrong, and then it has our full attention. To be able to focus on your breath allows you to bring your attention to the present moment and be more aware of your thoughts. Now, contrary to what you might think, being mindful doesn't mean to try and shut off your thoughts and think nothing. It simply means to be more aware of them. This is the most common mistake people make when beginning mindfulness training. They close their eyes and try to forget about all the things that stress them. But as the white bear theory tells us, this is almost impossible. For the next 30 seconds, try not to think of a white bear. I'm guaranteed that's the only thing that you'll be able to think of. So instead, we focus on our breathing and allow whatever thoughts come into our mind to be there. We then acknowledge the thought and return our attention to the breath. So here's how you do it. Find a comfortable spot. It doesn't have to be dark and quiet, although it would probably help. It can be literally anywhere. This could be your bed, your couch, your car, when you're pulled over, of course, or even your office chair. Close your eyes or just soften your gaze, whichever feels more comfortable. Take a nice deep breath in to begin. Let it out slowly, then just continue to breathe normally. Gently close your mouth and try and breathe through your nose, focusing on the feeling your breath creates. Bring your attention to the tip of your nose. Follow the breath from the very beginning of your in-breath to the very end of your out-breath. Each time you breathe in, feel the passage of air coming in through your nose. Note how it feels, the sensation it causes, how long it lasts, how strong it is. Then do the same on the way out. Try to keep your attention on your breath, but if your thoughts wander, that's okay. If you're thinking about the past, then think the word past. Return your attention to your breath. If you're thinking about the future, then think the word future. Return your attention to your breath. If you're thinking about something that's happening around you or that you're feeling in your body or just something random, just think not breath. Return your attention to your breath. Each time you notice your mind wandering and return your attention to your breath, you're strengthening your attention. So don't judge yourself for your mind wandering. Instead, be happy that you noticed and that it has made you stronger. Then return your attention to your breath. Now, this process takes practice, and the more you do it, the easier it will become. So make sure you stick with it. The most important thing to remember is that there is no way to do this wrong. Just by sitting and practicing this technique, you are becoming stronger and more mindful, regardless of how good or bad you think you are at it. So at some point today, try this for 30 seconds. That's it. Every week from here on in, we'll be looking to build up our mindfulness practice. But for now, just start with something very, very manageable. Give it a try, see how you go. So, how'd you go? Did you manage to get some breathing practice in? How did it feel? Did it feel relaxing, frustrating? Were you able to do it, or did you feel as if you didn't have time? If the answer to that last question was that you didn't have time for 30 seconds of breathing practice, you definitely need to have a look at how your day is structured. Focusing on your breathing is a fairly traditional view of mindfulness, and it's the way that many of us view it, but it's not the whole story. Remember our definition of mindfulness? The very first and most important part of that definition is the self-regulation of attention. That's what we're going to practice now. Mindfulness doesn't have to be locking yourself in a dark room with incense burning and Enya playing softly in the background. In fact, it's rarely that. It's just the ability to bring your attention to the here and now. So that's what we're going to do. That's what we're looking at, attention. How many things do we really concentrate on in a day? How many times can we say we remember something with perfect clarity? Do we pay attention to things, or are we mostly on autopilot? Our brains are incredibly good at conserving energy and coasting us through our day. But is that what we really want to do with our lives? Just coast through? Have a think about this the rest of today, and next we'll look at how we can sharpen our focus and get more out of each day. We all know how to focus. We do it all the time in situations that call for it. We just don't always realize we're doing it. If you played video games as a kid, try to think back and remember the parts of different levels. Can you remember the parts that were easy? Or do you remember the parts where you always seem to die, have to hand the controller over to your brother? This is because the difficult times require more of our attention, and so they're imprinted on our minds. Our ability to focus is the main principle of mindfulness. It doesn't matter how small or big the thing is, it only matters how sharp our focus is. And by starting small, we'll find the big things much easier to handle. So here are a few everyday things we can focus on to start training ourselves to be mindful. Waking up. As soon as you wake up in the morning, take a few seconds to experience where you are. Feel the sheets on your skin, absorb the sounds of your room and the outside world. Take in the smells of everything around you and take 10 deep breaths. Focus on the breath coming in and out of your nose. Now you're ready to get up. Next, showering. The shower is one of the best places to be mindful due to the wide array of stimuli to choose from. Focus on the water as it washes over you. Feel the temperature. Feel the individual droplets on your skin. Feel them travel down your body, then hear them hit the floor. There are a million different things to focus on in the shower, so take your time and pick one at a time. Eating. Eating is something we too often do on autopilot, but it can be extremely pleasurable when it has our attention. So take some time to focus on your food. Notice how it feels in your mouth. Concentrate on the different tastes and textures, how they mix together. Swallow the food, follow it with your mind as it goes down into your stomach. Try doing this for a few bites with every meal. You'll start to notice that you enjoy your food much, much more. Touch. Touch can be a huge part of our focus, and we can employ this technique at any time throughout the day. It could be your hands on the steering wheel, your bare feet on the carpet, or your pen in your hand. Just make sure to bring your attention to every aspect of the experience and absorb each individual sensation. This is a great way to practice mindfulness at any time and can also be a huge stress reliever. Exercise. This technique is a little more difficult, but also incredibly rewarding. With each movement that you do, focus completely on the muscles that are working. Imagine the muscle fibers contracting and pulling your limbs into action. Notice how a bar feels in your hand or the ground against your feet. This will not only help to focus your attention, but has actually been proven to increase muscle fiber activation, which means that you can literally lift more just by thinking about it. These techniques, while simple, can take a while to perfect. So stay at it and don't get discouraged if you can only do them for a few seconds. That's perfectly normal. Practice is the key here, so try at least one of them every day. You'll be amazed by the results in a few weeks.